Call this special meeting to order. We did meet a few minutes earlier in closed session. And, okay, so we have the agenda before us. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, on to the action agenda. The interim budget resolution to end for fiscal year 2014-15. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions or discussion?
I have questions for Ms. Frisbee.
All right, we'll move on then to, is that okay if we just move on to the next item? Okay, we'll come back to it as soon as she gets here.
I think somebody just did.
Okay. All right, we'll just, if it's okay with the board, we'll just move on to the consideration of the lead certification for the Lincoln Intermediate School. Okay, all right, we'll wait on everybody.
Oh, no, well. No, that's contract.
Snuck out the back door.
Well, actually, there's Ms. Frisbee too, so we'll just go ahead and take them in order. We'll let Ms. Frisbee go first.
Okay.
Hello, and good morning.
Hello, good morning.
We're on the interim budget resolution
Okay.
for 2014-2015. Ms. Baldwin has a question.
Yes, I'm looking at the budget materials that you gave us, and I wanted to clarify that the budget for PRC 061, instructional materials for the classroom, is $1.1 million, and that this is completely from the county local current expense fund. This is in section 4 of the budget materials. The 2014-15 budget resource materials book on page 76. Yeah.
In the past couple of years, what we've allotted to the schools for instructional supplies and materials is what the state has given us for instructional supplies and materials.
This is in the local current expense
Right.
fund.
We end up ABC transferring the money in the state budget to another budget and give the same exact amount in local funds. So it's a switch, but it's the same amount as what's in the state.
Okay, I'm not quite following you. So are they matching the money, or?
So say the state gives us $1 million.
Okay.
We move that to personnel because of the non-contributory benefits that the state will pay if we pay more salaries out of the state budget.
Mhm.
We transfer that exact amount in the local current expense fund to cover what the state has allotted in the state public school fund, if that makes sense.
So that means the commissioners are not allocating any money for instructional supplies for our students. Is that correct?
We give what the state sends us for instructional supplies and textbooks.
Okay, so we are not requesting from the commissioners any money for instructional supplies for our students? Because it says general instructional materials hyphen local. So it's very confusing. There's no mention that this was transferred. Is that correct?
It was approved by the board when y'all approved the ABC transfer that was submitted.
Within a budget
Oh,
amendment.
budget
it is
amendment.
transferred, Yes, within a
Okay.
budget amendment, it is transferred, and
But, so we are not asking our commissioners to give any of the county budget money to instructional supplies then? From the county,
We ask
for
the
the
county commissioners
LCDA?
more a general amount of money that we have flexibility to spend as we choose to spend that money.
That's correct.
We don't.
They don't get very specific, and,
For a lot
I mean,
of
they
money.
will ask where we're gonna spend this money, but they don't, like the state says, this money has to go here, and this money has to go here. That's a board decision as to, how we have more flexibility with the county money and how we choose to spend it.
Well, it looks then that we haven't been giving any of the county money to instructional supplies, is that correct?
we give the amount that
The state gives.
Right, so we're not requesting, because it's not enough, basically, that we're not requesting the commissioners to give us extra money for classroom supplies, and we haven't allocated this lump sum from the commissioners, any of it to instructional supplies.
The board approves the decision on where to spend that money.
The only increase we have asked for in the coming budget is for $100,000 for funds for textbooks.
So we are just going to continue to transfer the state money for instructional supplies into the local current expense fund,
No.
using ABC transfer. Well, no, I'm sorry, it's not the instructional supply money from the state, it's
What
the
they
other.
explained was
Yes, I
that we
understand.
take the state money and use it for teacher positions.
Exactly.
Right.
And we take that same amount of money from local funds and we spend it on
That's
schools.
exactly
Right,
correct.
so I just want to clarify
Well, I
that
don't think it can
the
get much clearer than that.
$1.1 million then is coming from county funds. That's what he just said. The instructional supply money is coming from county funds.
That is correct.
Yes.
And that this has declined over the years. You have the data for 2011-12, where it was $1.8 million, and now we're down to $1.1 million. So this is just directly comparable to what the state allocates, but the state money's transferred to other.
As the state money has decreased,
Right. That's based on the changes in enrollment, changes in the funding formula would cause it to change.
any other questions?
As a, if I may, Mr. Chair,
Yes.
as a matter of just operational procedures, the reason, for example, I think you gave us $1 million, if we have $1 million to make the ABC transfer, the reason we're doing that is to better use and stretch the taxpayer dollars, is that correct?
That's correct.
And we do that how? What actually is happening? When you make that transfer, the cost associated with personnel, et cetera, that most people don't understand, not that they don't understand, but they don't normally talk about and see as existing with a personnel position becomes paid by an entity other than the local entity. Is that correct? Right.
I mean, one example would be the unemployment insurance that we have to pay on every employee. The state picks that up if we put that employee's salary in the state.
Right.
If we pay that a local current expense fund picks it up. So that savings that the state picks up, that nobody ever sees, that's just how the system works in the state. So,
And also
It's-
the workers' comp.
yes, I mean, there's several items like that. Unemployment is just one example.
So it's a way of maximizing our state dollars.
Right.
And the level at which we do it may or may not be the same as every other system in the state of North Carolina, but it is something that is available for all systems.
We have that option to do that here.
Thank you.
Sorry we're late, we're closing a fiscal year.
We understand. We understand. All right, any other questions on the interim?
Yes.
Okay.
I wanted to ask, you gave a total for both Asheville City Schools and Buncombe County Schools that were requesting from the commissioners. What is the total just for Buncombe County Schools?
The original request was $3,083,383, and then after the response from the county of Buncombe, the request is $2,658,383.
Well, I'm talking about the total, not just the additions, but considering the entire total. It says 57 million last year, 60 million this year for both school districts. But I just wanted to break out for just Buncombe County schools.
Our current amount is 48,738,512, so you add that to whatever, to the 3 million.
So 2.6.
Yeah, or the 2.6, so,
51.
yep.
Okay, so we're only asking our commissioners for about $51+ million.
It'll be $51,396,895.
Right.
Yes, I'm very troubled by this amount. Compared us with the same size school district, New Hanover County Schools, and they are getting $67 million in an apples-to-apples comparison with the operating budget, which is, we're significantly lower. Our commissioners have only increased their net county funding to education by 2% over the past several years. Where they've increased public safety, their net county cost for public safety has increased 14%. Human services increased 21%. And again, education has only increased about 2%.
Ms. Baldwin, is this a question for our,
Yes, I'm wondering why we are asking for such a small amount of money from our commissioners when obviously, they're giving out tons of money to human services and
well,
public
obviously,
safety.
by what they just said, we asked for more than what they're giving us.
We are asking for $51 million for operating
So,
costs, and
One
that's
thing
not
that
enough.
you may want to know, do you know what the tax rate is in New Hanover County?
It's a lot lower than here.
It is?
Yes,
What-
it
what
is.
is
It's
there?
only 50.4 cents per $100 valuation, and we're up at 60.4.
And where does that rank as far as the state goes?
I don't know.
Okay.
I know they have a lower tax rate. I think it might be 55.4.
Okay.
I have that documented somewhere.
Okay. All right.
But
Do you have a question specifically? I mean, she doesn't go to the county commissioners and ask that.
I know, I'm sure the superintendent directed the budget. The budget process was not transparent. There was no input from stakeholders or the school board. And we continue to underfund the classroom. The instructional supply and textbook amounts are abysmal. It seems that dollars are not being focused on teaching and learning.
Okay, Dr. Baldwin, you have something to say?
That's not true, Ms. Baldwin, regarding the transparency, regarding the use of stakeholders in the budget process. Once again, that is absolutely false. The other thing I would remind the entire board is that when we have gone to the commissioners and requested funding, we have placed the highest priorities. In fact, you can see that in the breakdown of the funding request to the commissioners this past year. We have put our personnel first and foremost for year number 6. We placed the highest priority on classroom teachers. That is why the adjustment most recently made to request funding from our commissioners, and the highest amount of any of the components went to fund the potential loss of 9.5 classroom teaching positions. And we put that priority on classroom teachers. Second priority has gone to teacher assistants. Again, without the help of the county commissioners, I think all recall last year where we would have been regarding our assistants and additional funding that came from. So again, symbolically, as superintendent regarding this budget, any aspect of the budget, I guess that may be a difference, Ms. Baldwin. I'm going to put people first and foremost, and instructional supplies come somewhere down on the totem pole, because I believe strongly that without that personnel, those personnel in those classrooms, those teacher-student relationships, it doesn't mean a lot whether or not you have 2 dozen pencils or a dozen pencils. I think that's totally secondary, and that argument, again, it's going to lie in favor of our personnel. I also believe that the commissioners, we've built a level of trust with them over the years, and when we've gone to them making requests, they understand that's the priority. When we come to them with a request, it is a very legitimate, data-proven request.
Any other questions
Well, I would
from
like
other
to-
board members?
Rebut some of those comments.
Ms. Baldwin, if
I'm
you're
sorry,
waiting to be
but-
recognized, I want to see if anyone else has a question first, and then, does anyone else have anything they'd like to say? All right.
Some have made the point of the fact that we did ask for more county commissioners. What if we asked for $3 million, even through the initial conversations, they sounded like they weren't willing to do that.
Well, the other thing too that's happening is, we don't have any idea what the state's gonna do. And really, until the state figures out what they're gonna do, there's a lot of things that are affecting the county budget, not just the education part of it, but a lot of other things. And so I think it's important to note that both us as a school system and the county commissioners are waiting on that state budget. And once that state budget is finalized, you know, we may very well have to go back to them and ask them for a whole lot more money than what was originally asked for. We're trying, I think it's very important right now to try to maintain as best we can, you know, not losing any more positions that we have. And so once the state decides, you know, where they're going to be, then we'll have a better idea of where we're all going to be, what we'll be able to do. Ms. Baldwin, go right ahead.
Yes, I just wanted to express, again, that there was no public input or board input into the budget before we received
Ms.
it.
Baldwin, you're being repetitive. You said that before.
Absolutely, I'm emphasizing my point. The percent of county property tax revenues allocated to education has been reduced from 43.5% to 41.6%. That's
Sure, I'll
almost
ask you a
2
question.
percentage points.
If I could ask you a question.
You're interrupting.
I'm not asking,
Hold on just a second.
I'm not asking you a question of the folks here. I have a question for this group, if we're still asking questions here.
Do you have a question, Ms. Baldwin?
Well, I did. I have a question as to why.
Ms. Baldwin, you've said all this before. We're not going to be repetitive.
No, I haven't said this before.
You have said this before.
You
You
haven't
just
even
said
heard
it.
what
You
I've
just
said. The 2 percentage point
Well, do you
drop
want to
in
say it
funding.
10 times, and then maybe, you know, we'll understand it better. But everything you said is repetitive, so unless you have another question for
Yes,
our
I do.
finance, okay, go right ahead and ask it.
Have we asked the commissioners?
Ms. Baldwin, you're being repetitive.
No, I'm not. I haven't asked the question before. How do you know what I'm asking before I ask it? Mr. Chairman, with all due respect, did the superintendent ask the commissioners to hold constant the property tax revenues going into education and put the $2 million freed up by AV Tech into our county school system?
We asked for an increase in fund. We didn't get specific as to how much money as part of the budget they needed to send us.
Did we ask, did the superintendent ask the state legislators to change archaic laws designating special sales taxes for county school construction running over $12 million per year to allow a portion of those construction funds to be spent on teaching and learning? As our enrollment is declining and our school population may need to be rebalanced
Ms.
rather
Baldwin,
than construction.
I think that everyone's asking the state to give us more funding.
These are special sales taxes designated for Buncombe County Schools
And we've
construction.
actually discussed those ideas before.
Well, I asked
And
if the
that was a
superintendent had
board,
requested
board,
this.
that's a board decision,
I'm asking
not
the
a superintendent
superintendent.
decision. That is a board decision, okay?
It could be either. It could also be a commissioner decision. My third question is, did the superintendent look at merging the BCS maintenance and facilities departments? By eliminating one director position alone, that frees up $133,000. Cabarrus County Schools has already done this to free up money for the classroom. We also have been requested to, efficiency experts have contacted us. They could save us around $2 million in central office operation costs alone. Has the superintendent investigated either of these options?
Again, that's a board decision. If we choose to direct the superintendent to do that, we certainly can.
And we talked about this if the board decided not to pursue that
Yes.
several times.
All right, if you have some more questions for Ms. Frisbee, we're going to move on. So we're out if it's getting very
I have-
political in this.
I now have two.
Yes.
Just for clarification, the interim budget resolution, June 30th, 2014, we're at some point going to vote on today. If we vote against that, what's the effect?
We will not be able to continue operations as a school system.
So we send everybody home tomorrow.
Yes, tomorrow everybody will go home.
We have no authority to speak.
Second, as it relates to and I will probably call the wrong number. The item that Ms. Ball was just referencing, I believe it's Article 39, but it may be 4042, but school construction, sales tax money that comes back to us, $12 million a year, I believe is the number she referenced. It. My memory tells me that's about right. It's maybe calling the wrong.
That's Article 39 sales tax.
39. That money is being spent how on an annual basis? We're paying debt with that money, correct?
Yes.
We're paying debt for schools that have been built recently and schools that have been built 5, 10, 15 years ago. And if you start taking away from that money that's been designated to go to pay those debts, as I understand it, it would be as if and correct me if I'm wrong, but if I've got $1,000 a month mortgage on my home, and I begin to send the mortgage company $800 a month instead of $1,000, I got a problem.
Yes, sir.
So
Well-
taking some of that money, we would create, in theory, we could create a problem for debts we've already incurred. Not even talking about going forward, any new projects or things that would happen
Yes, sir.
from here going back. Thank you.
Yes, I was only referencing a portion of that money. I think the debt repayment is an excellent aspect of that, but to continue to build new schools when enrollment is declining makes no sense whatsoever without looking at redrawing attendance lines first.
And I only referenced a portion of it in my analogy as well. My point is, we've incurred debt, and we've made a commitment to pay for it. If we didn't do anything going forward, and we started taking that money, we got a problem with who's holding the note. And we then begin to have a problem, the county can have a problem with AAA bond rating, et cetera, because all those things, we deem that credit rating. It wouldn't just affect us, but it would affect everybody involved in any other building processes. Because at the end of the day, the county's the one that's holding that rating. County of Buncombe, not the Buncombe County School Board.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Yes, how much, the cash flow statement expresses to us from the county how much is in that bank account, so to speak, for construction and debt repayment. Can you give me the latest figures on how much money we have in that account?
Well,
We can
let's-
get it
We
for
can get
you.
that information. Let's move on to the.
This is relevant to the budget we're about to pass. And I think the doom and gloom predictions from Mr. Bryant would not hold up if he knew how much money was actually in that Article 39 account.
Well, I do know how much. I've got an idea how much, but I also know how much debt there is and how much money's been invested in infrastructure and schools. They don't match. They're not the same.
Good. All right, all in favor of interim budget resolution for the year 2014-15, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm opposed because it's not adequate to fund
Thank
our
you, Ms. Baldwin.
classrooms.
All right, moving on to budget amendment number 8. I have a motion to approve budget amendment number 8, which will be our final for the year.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any questions or discussion?
I do have a question, if you could give me a moment to find my paperwork. There's a chart on Budget Amendment 8, which is excellent, and all the budget materials, I just want to mention Ms. Frisbee and Mr. Warren have been very helpful, done an excellent job on creating those documents and giving us historical data this year, which was fantastic. On the chart for Budget Amendment 8, I noticed there's some remaining balances. And I'm assuming this is, well, I need to not assume. Let me ask you, are these balances going to carry over into the next fiscal year, or will they be closed out today?
Which chart are you referencing?
Right, there are several.
Are you referencing the local current expense fund chart or
Yes.
the
Yes,
state
it is.
fund?
Yeah, the local current expense fund.
So a lot of the remaining balances are in portions where the 60-day accrual period happens. So like, for example, there's some money left in 003. Well, there's 12-month hourly paid people that will be accrued back to that pot of money. So that's why the remaining balance is there. Some other parts of the remaining balance is where people have been mindful and frugal and have, and that money will carry over. So it's really just a mix. You'd have to go line, program by program. to explain that. But
Another
that's the-
example is utilities.
Utilities,
Utilities.
our last bill hasn't came in, so that's why you see a balance in
Right.
maintenance fund.
And I think we explained that in the
Yes.
description there.
But as a general rule, we do not get to keep any state money.
No,
No
no
state-
state money will
But
carry over.
As a general rule, the county money will be able to keep and use,
Right.
if it's not encumbered, something.
Right.
There are two PRCs in the state public school plan that do carry over. They're highlighted in orange, and that's the school technology fund and the summer reading camp money.
Okay, all right, great. Board, any other questions?
Yeah, I would like to follow up with you later, because there were some really large amounts on here, such as the teacher assistants, $250,000 almost, and non-instructional support was $466,000 remaining balance. You know, just to see if that money does all go back, you know, within the 60 days. So I hope, you know, that we can have a meeting. I had tried to schedule a meeting with you all prior to this meeting, but it was not permitted by the superintendent.
All right, any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Uh,
Aye. All opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Fearley, well, let me make sure I get a motion, I guess. I have a motion to consider lead certification for the new Inca Intermediate School. Do I have a motion to do so?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, yes. Mr. Fearley, I have a question for you. Whenever we built Pinson as an intermediate schools, we did not actually have silver certification as our goal as a board, did we?
Yeah, that
It
was our
silver?
goal.
It was
Yes.
silver, okay.
Yeah, silver was our goal.
And what level of certification did we actually receive on those?
Silver.
It was silver, okay. So is there a certification below silver?
Yes, there's lead accredited. It goes credited, silver, gold, and platinum.
Okay, but we did, for some reason, I thought we asked for the basic lead certification on those.
No, we went for silver with the idea that if we, that being our goal, that if we didn't get it, we would fall back to accredited.
Okay,
That
okay, all right.
wanted to make sure if you wanted to get lead, that we would set our sights here, because it's not all, it's not a guaranteed thing. You have a partnership with the contractor and such, so.
Okay, so we didn't actually seek that silver certification on those.
We seek silver, but if we got a lead accreditation, we would have accepted that.
Okay. All right, any other questions, board members?
Yes, I wanted to ask if we couldn't achieve the same goals without going through the LEED certification program. There seems to be a lot of costs associated, with that program and getting the silver designation, but at the same time, as a school district, we could save taxpayer dollars by doing it on our own, using sustainable or green materials, whatever it is, that it takes. Is that true?
That is true, and I do need to point out to you that I made a mistake in my letter to Dr. Baldwin. I misread the architect's proposal, and in my letter to you, I say that there will be additional design fees of $80,000, when in fact it's $182,000. So if we could make that correction. Now, to answer your question, yes, we've learned how to build LEED schools in these last two projects. And the intent, I believe, and you correct me if I'm wrong, is to build equitable schools to Evelyn and Kuntz, the Anka school would be. So if you decide not to seek LEED certification, that I would propose as kind of a diploma, if you will. We're still going to build an excellent school that is comparable to Evelyn and Kuntz. So it's your decision whether you want to seek the LEED certification at whatever level, and there are costs associated with it. There is a lot of documentation. Like I said, you're in partnership with the contractor. They have a lot of documentation. There may be things that you do within the construction and the design that you might not do if it wasn't LEED, a number of bike racks, and that's a small example, but there's certain things that you're absolutely required to do within LEED that if you do not choose to seek LEED, we may
do something different. But you're going to get an excellent building, a high-performance building with whatever you choose to do.
And it would be my opinion that I would like for us to build buildings that are comparable, but I don't think that we need to seek the LEED certification on these schools.
That's why I'm looking for your direction, because we need to get...
$182,000 into the school for something that...
And there's construction costs on top of that, too, that the contractor will have comparable or more costs associated with it. So that's your direction. We need to really get started on the design. We need it up front, and that's why we're asking for your direction.
Yeah, just so I understand the 182,000 a little bit better. So let's just take a cistern, for example, off the roof. It takes time to design that. That might be something that we want to do, even if we don't do LEED
That's correct,
certification.
yes.
Is that an example of what's in the 182? Or is the additional paperwork, because we're doing the cistern and applying to LEED, it's only the LEED part of that 182?
Well, we're going to put those features into the building, but there is a lot of documentation along the way and submittals to the U.S. Green Building Council that need to be done, reviews, comments back to them. In the specifications, the written portion of the construction documents, there's a lot of additional detailing that needs to be put in there so that you conform to the U.S. Green Building Council requirements. And there's inspections and reviews of submittals and a lot of work on the part of the design team.
And so all those extras is what makes up the 182,000?
That's right.
Yes, Ms. Churchill.
Mr. Mayor, I have one question. If, as a parent, would I be able to go to Coombs Intermediate and the new Inca Intermediate School when it's completed and point out the differences if we did not seek certification? And I guess my second question would be, does achieving LEED certification in any way improve the quality of education that the students will be getting at Inca?
So the first question, would you be able to see the difference?
As a parent.
As a parent? I don't think so. In the building, the building's going to be different, first of all. We have a different site. We have a different architect. The two solutions are going to be different. So you're going to see a difference, but you will not be able to attribute the specifics of this isn't a LEED, so it has this or doesn't have that. So that it's going to be an excellent building. It's going to be different, though. And then the second part of your question was what?
If achieving or not achieving LEED certification in any way results in a better or lacking.
Really what LEED does is allows you to compare yourself to other projects. So it's kind of the diploma. Are you summa cum laude? Or, that's really, it gives you a framework, because how, anyone can claim that they have an excellent building. And how do you compare different entities? Well, the LEED process, they may not be two identical buildings, but if you're LEED silver, you kind of know where you are in that continuum of energy efficiency, indoor air quality, sustainability, and all. If you don't have that framework, that organizational rigor, then it's just harder to kind of balance things across the country of what level of sustainability and energy efficiency all wrapped into one weird little package, a little stew. So that's really what LEED gives you, is a way to compare yourself to other projects.
Yes, Mr. Gray.
One more question, I'm sorry. To me, what a huge advantage of environmentally friendly is the impact on future budgets. So this, whether we do LEED or not do LEED, we'll have this, y'all will keep in mind, you will keep in mind the importance of future operations. In terms of green tends to be more efficient in the future.
You bet. When we were looking at the Evelyn and Coons projects, this board embraced a goal of being 30% more energy efficient than building code required. And that will be our intention to build the most energy efficient building, because we know that operating costs down the road are what we really struggle with and what can have a long-term effect. So yes, I will tell you, myself and I think our designer that's here and Greg Fox had that commitment to minimize operational energy costs, maintenance costs as well. Those were kind of recurring costs. That will be our primary criteria.
And I really think with the experience that Mr. Fearley's had with our two new buildings, I think he can take that knowledge and with our architects, make sure, I'd like to see more than 30% if we can. And I think it's important, I thought it was very important that we discuss this. I know I'm kind of going against the motion, but I want it very noted that we're not building a lesser building in any way by not seeking the certification. I think we should strive to do everything we can to have a better building based on what we've learned from the other two buildings, what we can do to improve it. And maybe we can spend that $182,000 in a way that we can, do some things to the school to make it. I will have to ask Mr. Bryan if you would agree to a friendly amendment to your motion that instead of $80,000, it's $180,000.
182.
182.
Yeah.
Are you okay with that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, all right.
I'm sorry.
Yes, it's
You have a conversation going?
Go right ahead.
You're gonna let me talk?
Yeah, I will let you talk this time.
There is a reason for that. You shut me up all morning. Just curious, part of the LEED certification that interested me was the disposal of dirt and the reusing of as many materials as we can. I think this question's already been answered, but you are going in construction, you would continue to do that even if we don't go for the LEED name.
There are some, within LEED, there are some really, really strict requirements for the construction process. Many dumpsters where we sort materials and such. We would probably do a little bit less than that. But if the board wants, if you give me direction to ensure that we do it to the exact letter of what LEED might require, I'm glad to make that happen. I think if you don't go with LEED, there's some reasonableness, and I would ask you for some flexibility in determining what is appropriate, what's the most bang for the buck, that sort of thing. But if you want to do it to the letter of what LEED is, then I'll do that. I'll make sure that happens.
Thank you.
One thing to note, Board, I think is very important. If we choose not to seek LEED certification, we should not refer to this building as a LEED building, because that is
That's
legally
right.
not something that we can, even though, we may be trying to breach some of those standards, it's very important that we not refer to it as
Yeah, it's kind of a copyrighted sort of thing. So it's going to be a high performance building. That's what it's going to be.
Yeah, exactly.
Mr. Chair, I have a
Yes.
question, or maybe two. I'm curious, regardless of what, I don't think it makes sense for this board to seek the components of LEED building, energy efficiency, air quality, et cetera, and not seek LEED certification. I'll tell you why. I would see the situation you just mentioned. If you use some leeway, there's some leeway to the next person, that some things don't get done at the level that this board may want as it relates to some of those kind of things, because we haven't said this. My question is, how would you or anyone ensure that happens to meet these types of things, and why would we want to do that? And not seek the certification other than $182,000, but we can't spend that money in classroom. Right? I mean, that's money that's gotta go to, we're not taking that out of general expense fund. That's borrowed money that has to go to construction, so we couldn't take that $182,000 and transfer it over to build some teacher aide positions or whatever we wanted to do in the classroom, I don't think. Could we?
No, that's operating.
Right.
That's right.
So the $182,000, say, at least in this particular aspect,
Right. Oh, by having the lead. Okay, Greg has a good point.
Go right ahead. I think this may be important.
The other thing that LEED does, it gives you a certification that utilities companies recognize. We pay less per unit of gas for therm than the average sewer because we reach that level of efficiency. That's one thing LEED does for me.
and then my last question would be, as relates to that, air quality, energy, all the different things, do you have a feel? And I know I'm asking you to give me an answer that's probably not based on numbers, but how long is it going to take to recoup $182,000? What's the difference if we don't do those things versus doing them? Is $182,000 going to take us 98 years to recoup, or is it going to take us 14?
We looked at it, you're only looking at about $4,000 a year just in gas. And, you know,
But in all the things that make up LEED certification, can you quantify that? Can you put a number on it?
Many of the things can't be quantified in a payback period. The construction process where there is additional measures for ensuring that there's no runoff and such, you can't quantify that in a payback at least, but it's thought of as an environmental impact that you are ensuring. And I guess what you're leading to, it's a very interesting issue in that the experience from the last schools, our schools were late, right? It would have been very tempting for me to offer some flexibility on certain things in order to trade for time. I probably would have done that because we wanted to get into those schools. But we had an investment in LEED, and to jeopardize that investment for a month or whatever it would have been tough. You know, I would have had to have conversations with you folks about that. So, again, that rigor in the system, the investment, ensures that you get your diploma, if you will. So that is one aspect to consider. You know, my hope and desire, of course, is to deliver a building on time and in budget. But construction is a tough.
It's a moving target.
It's tough. So it is something to consider. I think we got a good design team and a system with the construction manager at risk that we are not assured of, but we have a much greater likelihood that we're going to have a project that isn't subject to the low bidder going out of business, and we'll have more things under our control in terms of costs and delivery schedule.
Mr. Fox, you said approximately $4,000 a year just in our gas
that's just
rate.
gas. Right.
Just-
We have a rate 127, which is a different rate than someone else would rate.
Is like the utility rate, is it affected any? I know we probably use maybe a little less, well, it depends on the design, but is there any difference in the rate on the electricity?
Not on electricity, just on
Water,
gas.
any of that stuff? No, that's all the same, so.
Chair? Can I address the board?
Yes, sir, please, Mr. Watson.
Well, you talked about designer fees, but you've not talked about construction. And
Mike, could you come to the microphone?
you've not talked about construction costs. But my research here generated, this is just the GSA research, and this is a number of other items. Said there's about a 3% construction cost increase also for these buildings. Now, being a high, that's from a baseline building, not a high. So I could construe that maybe you might spend, which that would represent somewhere in the neighborhood of almost $600,000. So I could say you might spend half of that on higher performance boilers and chillers, electrical systems and other things that you would want for your high performance building. So there's an additional couple $100,000 more in there, in addition to that 185 designer fees that you should consider.
May I ask another question?
Yes, sir.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the architect who selected going forward, they do have experience with the certification process.
They have an excellent consultant that we looked at that I feel totally confident that Bowers, Ellison, Watson, their team, and this consultant can deliver a lead building to us.
I felt like I had heard that and discussed that in the presentation. That's okay. Just want to make sure.
Just for the record, Mr. Bryant, would you read the new amended recommendation?
The recommendation, consider LEED Silver certification for the new intermediate school in order to provide equity with the recently constructed intermediate schools. Include increased LEED design fees of approximately $180,000 in the architect contract to reflect design and administration of the LEED process. Additionally, registration costs are approximately $11,000.
All right, so is that good, Mr. Jackson?
Yes, sir.
All right, and the second was made by Ms. Churchill. Are there any other questions?
I was going to ask the chairman, were you going to amend this resolution to request that we consider an energy efficient building as opposed to going through the expensive LEED certification process?
Well, I think that's a given on any building that we do. So I mean, we're gonna tell the architect, you know, what kind of building that we want. I mean, I think he understands the kind of building that we want. So no, I don't think it's necessary to make another motion. I think we put on this one. I certainly want a high-performing school that is as good as our other schools that we just recently completed.
Can I just clarify, I know Mr. Bryant read the motion that says we would consider a LEED certification.
That's correct.
So we're not voting to do it today, we're just voting to
No, we're
consider.
voting, if we want to do LEED, if we want LEED certification on this building,
So that's
you'll
what
vote
this
yes.
vote will determine.
If you do not want LEED certification, you'll vote no to this motion.
Then I would like to move to amend the motion on the floor that we consider an energy efficient building rather than the expensive LEED certification.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, good. All right, so we're going to be voting, but yes, if you want to seek the silver LEED certification, okay? All in favor of seeking that LEED silver certification, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no.
No.
Well, that was 6 to 1. Mr. Trill, I think it goes without saying, the type of building that we're expecting.
You'll get it.
No. All right, I have been asked, after the approval of the agenda, to move the Inca Intermediate School architect contract to an action item. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So do we have a motion to approve the contract? Is there a second? Is there any questions or discussion?
Yes, I'm concerned because I hear the word equity. We want this school to be equitable to the other recently built intermediate schools. And I am under the impression we're sort of using the design plan as a prototype. So to me, it's expensive. Are we paying to have a whole entire new design done? Or are we using this prototype? It should, you know, I would like to see it cost less than $1.274 million for the design fees, considering that we have a prototype building.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion?
Well, I think that was sort of a question and a
Well, it wasn't
statement.
phrased as a question, it was more of a statement.
You know, it was my impression. Is it true? Are we using, to be equitable, are we using the prototype design? of the two existing intermediates, Mr. Beerley. From what I've seen from the drawings, the preliminary, plans, it looked like the same, the way the classrooms are arranged for fifth and sixth.
We are using the program that is the functional aspects of how the two recent intermediate schools function as a prototype. But the building is going to be very different, both aesthetically and how it operates. When you walk in, you'll see some finishes that are the same, and behind the scenes, the HVAC and such may be very similar, but it's not going to look like either of the intermediate schools. So it is a whole new design. The site will not accommodate the Evelyn and Coons Intermediate School plan, so it has to be completely designed. And the percentage fee is in line with what we have done in the past. I think it would be unfair and inconsistent in the past and going forward in the future to expect someone to redesign this without this fee here, this comparable fee that is appropriate in terms of what the state suggests and what we've done in the past here at Buncombe County Schools.
And I believe that we discussed quite a bit, these will be a different type of construction as well.
A totally different type of construction to try to speed things up. There's a lot more interaction with the construction manager at risk. So there's some gives and takes, some pluses and minuses on both sides that our architectural and design team will need to do.
Yes, and I still have a concern in all the pictures we received with the footprint of the Coons or Evelyn Intermediate. It appeared, even when we discussed it, when we were choosing an architect. So to me, I feel that we developed this prototype, I thought, with the intention of reusing it, and here we're throwing it out the window.
Well, we were fortunate when we built the other two schools that we were able to identify and utilize two sites that were similar in many ways. They had kind of a north-south ridge, if you will. So we were able to design identical schools. This site is not the same. And in fact, it will be very different. We are looking at what you saw in the presentations by Bowers, Ellis, and Watson was a school that had two separate wings that were 2 stories. We don't have that at the intermediate schools. We have kind of a stair-step design that has all the 5th and 6th grade on one level. And in fact, in the proposed design that you saw and liked and that we intend to tweak and make work is a design where 5th grade will be in one wing, but 2 stories, and 6th grade will be in another wing, 2 stories. The other way around, sorry.
All of it on one floor, on the lower level, 6th grades on the upper level.
Of 2 separate wings, so it's very different. It really is. But functionally, it will operate in the same way in terms of curriculum and such. I would also add that there's been new code requirements for special inspections that are very significant, intense, and costly. We've had new technology standards for instructional technology that will be incorporated into the school. We're not going to build the same school because, once you get done, it's kind of old school now. We've got a lot of lessons learned that we're going to incorporate in there and improve the school.
Mr. Fairley, just for comparative purposes, North Windy Ridge, that's a different design than either Coons or Evelyn.
You bet. Our first intermediate school is completely different.
Mrs. Swanner's not here, but I've heard her say that from an instructional standpoint, they're very comparable, all three, to the intermediate concept. Would you not also agree that even though they're different designs, the components from a structural standpoint, facility standpoint, are the basic components?
Are comparable. That's the program. That's the concept of the program and the functionality.
Any other questions?
I just wanted to express that I will be voting against this because I cannot put a school within 1,500 feet of a brownfield or toxic landfill, the equivalent of a Superfund site. I also feel
Duly
that
noted, Ms. Baldwin. We've heard all those objections, so.
the 5-6 approach is a Band-Aid approach and not
All
what
right,
might be
we've heard
best for
that one
students.
also, so we're ready to vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Good. All right, so on to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Our next, okay, Mr. Pledis, you had something that you wanted to.
I just wanted to request the August meeting be moved from the first Thursday in August to the second. It's personal, I'll be on vacation, but we're choosing not to.
So you're making it in the form of a motion?
Please, yes.
Okay, is there a second?
What are the date?
I'll be gone.
What date do?
Which day?
I'm gonna say,
Oh, you're gonna be gone the same, the
that
first
first
week?
week of August.
Where are y'all going, you're going on vacation together?
We are.
Okay.
We were talking about school board stuff.
I will ask the most important person here, and that's Ms. Jackson. Do you have any reason why, would that cause any sort of problems that you can think of? Okay.
First day of school, teacher planning, all those types of items. What's the,
Dr. Baldwin, you see?
not going to affect any of the new teacher
What was the
orientation?
date? I'm sorry, what was the new date?
It'd be the 14th.
The second Thursday of the month.
14th, well, Thursday's the 7th, 7th to the 14th.
And we start school on
The 20th on
the
Wednesday.
15th. Does anyone see any kind of reason why we can't do that?
The teachers report that day, well, when's the new teacher orientation? 2 days
It
before.
is the 11th, 12th, 14th are the dates of our new teacher orientation. So the days that we normally have, you all prepare lunch for the new teachers is on the 14th.
It is, okay.
I mean, I'm okay with that from our end, but what does it do to Dr. Baldwin and staff in terms of having a board meeting on that day, that week? Because I know there's a lot of work and preparation. Now we have, to me, you just gotta weigh that versus having all 7 of us here, which is always bad.
I think we're dealing with the great unknown because from the standpoint of the state, it's already been mentioned once. We're in a quandary regarding what the state decisions are going to be with the budget, which impacts, again, first and foremost, personnel. So, that's kind of a shot in the dark, whether either date would be preferable, Brian.
Well, how about if we make it the 14th, and if something comes up and we need to change it back, we'll do so. Is everyone okay with that?
I won't be here on the 14th, but at least it'll just be one.
Let's just not have a board meeting now.
I was wondering, can you do it on a Friday or would that not work? Just start back on the Fridays.
Ms. Lopez, when do we go back to regular, is it the 16th of August? I think it would be the week of the 11th, of August the 11th. Would be that.
So it's when,
I'm sorry?
I didn't hear when they
The
started
11th.
that.
I think they start back on the 11th on the regular
Oh,
schedule.
it's August, okay.
So, all right, so if everybody's okay with moving it to the 14th, and if something comes up and we need to change it back to the 7th, we will. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
I had a question also. I want to ask the board to consider revoking one of our board policies that has set up the superintendent as the gatekeeper.
But what you can do is the next time we have a budget or a policy work session, you can bring it up at that time.
This is a discussion.
It's not on the agenda, we're not going to discuss that today.
This is a question answer
The
discussion.
meeting is adjourned.
Mr.
Thank you.
Chairman.
I'm sorry. Did we do that? Good question. Okay, I'm sorry.
Point of order. Mr. Chairman, point of order.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, I rise to be recognized. I'm calling a
Here
point
again,
of order.
when we have a work session, that's the best time to do it. We're working on our policies
This
now.
is the best time.
All right.
This is the discussion
So go ahead and
period.
make
Question,
your
answer.
motion.
Okay. We just violated our board policy by allowing Mr. Pless to make a motion. That's why we need to repeal it, because it's ridiculous to make board members submit their motions 7 days in advance, because things come up on the floor. That's why I'm requesting that we put this on the agenda for the next meeting, that we repeal this policy that restricts our ability to govern, where we cannot meet with the finance director before we approve a budget. We
Okay.
can't ask questions of central
Okay.
office staff, and we can't make motions
We're not
at
going
a
to
meeting
discuss it
from the
now.
floor.
We're not going to discuss it now. So does anyone else have anything else they'd like to discuss? Mr. Baldwin? Dr. Baldwin?
Yeah, I just want, there was a point Ms. Baldwin brought up earlier that sort of caught me a little bit off guard. I just have Mr. Fox, Mr. Fairley, I think that the insinuation is that we could collapse your two leadership positions and still manage the maintenance department. Mr. Fox, just ballpark, how many staff do you have here located here, central office out in the school? Just ballpark figure.
Probably about 59, 60 people that are out in schools.
Okay, how about in here?
0 in central office, and the staff part of the maintenance department is probably about 15 people over there.
So 60 to 70 staff members. Do you hold a license in architecture? Are you an architect?
No, sir, I hold 7 state licenses, but not an architect.
But not an architect, okay. Mr. Fairley, you do, I hope, hold a state license, correct?
That's correct.
And I would commend both of you because your licensure has been incredibly important for this school system. It has saved thousands and thousands of dollars. Okay? Mr. Fox, just a question. Do you feel capable of serving as the architect of the Buncombe County school system and coordinating the facilities in that without a license?
Absolutely not.
Okay, that's I appreciate that answer. Mr. Fairley, I know you've got lots of experience and you're an outstanding leader, but do you feel that your background makes you capable of managing 60 to 70 staff members in the maintenance department?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to clarify that. And I also want the board and the public to be aware that I asked that this question answer discussion be made a part of the agenda. And let me tell you why. I will have at various times, certain times very frequent requests from individual board member and at times members to talk specifically to individual staff. Our staff have very heavy workloads, but in every case, it is important to me that if one staff member deems it important to ask those questions to Mr. Fairley, Mr. Fox, Ms. Frisbee, Ms. Lopez, and even you, Dr. Porter, you're our newest staff, that I make a point that that opportunity is available for all board members. So it's just not singled out. So that is why I asked for this discussion block to be put in place, Mr. Reinhardt, because I feel like I have sort of taken an attack from the side from Mrs. Baldwin regarding not allowing her to speak to individual staff members. And this is a regurgitated issue. It goes back several years. So again, I want the public to understand that when these questions are asked, the board works as a board, not individual board members. So my feeling is, regardless of what the question may be, if it's a good question, then the answer that comes back to that board member is probably very helpful for the entire board and all the board members. Just want to make sure that I clarify that.
Okay, anyone else have anything they want to discuss?
I think I have one question.
Good.
I think in the sewage treatment plant at North Buncombe?
Yes, sir.
Elementary.
Elementary, okay. High school.
Is it the high
It's
school?
the high
The
school.
lack
We
of
actually
it.
have one at elementary too, but we're actually looking at.
I saw all the companies that sent information out for bids and they declined. Any reason, do you know why, or?
Mr. Hall, address that.
This design, this planned addition, Mr. Pless, is a two-phase design. It involves work on the package treatment plant itself, but it's also designed for an in-ground system. Those are two separate disciplines which require different state licensing. Very few contractors have that license. To where a lot of these individuals, we tried our best to get them to pair up, group together and bid. We had some promises that they would. That never happened. So we bid the process twice, and we got an excellent contractor. It's actually our operator that does our current operations at the construction side, and we've utilized them before. Very good construction company, so we're pleased with who we got for a bid.
Okay, that's a good explanation. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or discussion?
I would just like to say, I throw out solutions. I try not to just focus on the problem, but try to look for solutions from other school districts. I think as board members, that's what we're all probably trying to do. And looking at a merger of departments is just an example of what could happen. And if we could research that some more and see how other districts have done it, possibly making the architect the director of facilities and maintenance, and having an assistant director who would be over maintenance, or the other way around, could solve some finance issues.
Anyone else? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So,
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.